Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Planning and Development Committee meeting, Monday, September the 13th, 2021, within the 5:30 p.m. hour. This is our via Zoom Plan Development Committee meeting. Tonight, we have 4 ordinances before us. The first one, we have CPO 2021-64, an ordinance amending Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 123, Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Monica Reeves, 1401-11 West 25th Avenue, Gary, Indiana. Property 1401-11 West 25th Avenue, Gary, Indiana. Hold on for one moment. Our next one, CPO 2025, an ordinance amending Title 15 Land Use, Chapter 123, entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Brandy Midrow, 600 East 17th Avenue, Gary, Indiana. Property 600 East 17th Avenue, Gary, Indiana. Our third one is CPO 2021-66, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123, entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner Tanya Hunter, 425 East 47th Place, Gary, Indiana. Property 425 East 47th Place, Gary, Indiana. Our last one for tonight will be CPO 2021-67, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123, entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana. Petitioner that Ishma Lawrence, 980 Hobart Street, Gary, Indiana. Property 980 Street, Hobart Street, Gary, Indiana. Tonight, I'm joined with my colleagues, Councilwoman Mary Brown of the 3rd District, Councilwoman Linda. At this time, we will get started with our first ordinance tonight, CPO 2021-64, and we will take these in the order that they were just read out. Oh, and good evening, Mr. Berea, Zoning Director.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm going to share my screen first. Since we have 4 daycares that we're looking at to give you a map of the overall area of the daycares that we're looking at. I think we have 980 Hobart Street. The red diamonds are proposed daycares on the agenda for tonight, plus a couple others that are not on tonight's agenda. The blue squares are existing daycares that are licensed with the City of Gary. So we have here Hobart Street, we have 600 East 17th, 1401-11 West 45th, and 425 East 47th. I'll show the close-up as we proceed through these. So the first petition, the petitioner is Monica Reeves, and I believe she is online. The affected real estate is 1401-11 West 45th Avenue. The property is zoned R2, so, and the petitioner will be living in the property, thus she can request a special use permit to operate the daycare on the property as long as she meets the 7 criteria. The 7 criteria are listed here on the first page of the document that the packet you were sent. This petition came before the Board of Zoning Appeals on August 16th and received a favorable recommendation to forward it to the Common Council. The Close-up of the daycare of the location of 1401-45th is on the screen now, and you'll see that it's in the area of city that no other existing daycare is within a couple block radius. I will take any questions at this time.
So, Ms. Barrera, how many letters were sent out to residents in the area? And what was the response?
Let's see here. I do not believe that we had a response on this one. Sorry, I should have been prepared to answer that question.
You don't have to.
If I could speak, it was 14 letters.
It was 14 letters sent out?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you very much.
Okay. Do you know if anyone objected to the daycare? The proposed daycare coming in by any residents?
According to the first meeting, no one no one sent them letters, no one said no. No one was sent, no letters were sent back.
Okay.
I do believe that's correct.
And you will be residing at this residence, is that correct, just for the record?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments by any of my colleagues at this time? Okay. All right. Ms. Reeves, we will take this, I will move this forward to go to third and final before the full body. That will be, let me put my calendar up.
The 21st.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you, the 21st, at 6 p.m.
Okay.
My colleague, Councilwoman Tara Atkins, is getting ready to join us. She's helping me out. So that's the 21st at 6 p.m. I would ask if you will be with us that day. So when the full body comes together, if there's any additional questions that they may have for you, you can be there to answer those.
Okay, thank you. I'll be present.
For 21-65, the petitioner is Brandy Muldrow. The owner of the property is Ashley Carrington. The affected real estate is 600 East 17th Avenue. And the petitioner has indicated that she will not be residing at the residence. And so when a petitioner is not residing at the residence and the residence is zoned R5 and is surrounded by residential, then the petitioner has the option to request a use variance to operate a daycare on the property, and the criteria for assessing the use variance is different and more stringent than the criteria assessing the special use permits. So I put those criteria, the 5 criteria here on page 1 as well. Prior to the, for any use variance, where special use is particularly earmarked if they meet the criteria, use variance and other types of similar types of variance require a demonstration of a hardship. That has to be a feature of the property, and a hardship is not a financial hardship or simply wishing to do some business on the property that is otherwise not permitted. So the staff interpretation is that there was no demonstrated hardship as a feature of the property that would require, that would justify a use variance for this property, and thus recommended an unfavorable recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Board of Zoning Appeals in the August 16th meeting also voted to forward this to the Common Council with an unfavorable recommendation. I pulled a zoomed in screenshot here of the map of the proposed daycare at 600 East and the existing daycares in the surrounding few blocks. So I'll take any questions at this time.
So, Ms. Faria, first of all, the petitioner, where does the current address where the petitioner resides? Because it's stating that she resides at this address on our sheet.
We had a meeting prior to all of the petitions coming forward and identified that if you are residing on the property, you can request a special use permit. If you're not residing on the property, you need to apply for a use variance. And this applicant applied for a use variance on the basis of not residing in the property. So I do not know her current address where she resides. Maybe she can.
Is the petitioner on at this time?
Yes, I'm here.
What's your current address?
14556 Shepherd Drive in Dalton, Illinois.
And for you or Mr. Faria, how many letters were sent out to residents in that area?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How many letters were sent out to the residents in that area, and what was the response?
Give me 1 second.
If I can remember, I think it was 18.
Okay. What was the response? Do you know offhand?
I don't know.
Okay. So is this a property that you're renting, or is this property that you own outright?
I will be renting the property
Okay.
on basis of, you know, how the business do, then, you know, take it over from the owner.
Okay.
Will purchase it from him.
Okay. Let me open up to any of my colleagues that would like to speak at this time that will have any comments or questions.
You know, my only question is, you're living, where did you say you live?
I live in Dalton, Illinois.
And you want to open a daycare in Gary, Indiana?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's my question, my concern. Why?
I didn't hear her.
That was my question. You're requesting a daycare in Gary, Indiana, and you live in Dalton, Illinois, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
Any other
So did
council
you-
members?
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Gowan?
thank you. Miss, was it Muldrow?
Muldrow, yeah.
Muldrow, thank you. Are you currently in a lease, or you're anticipating entering into a lease?
At this property,
Yes.
well, it's going to depend on you guys' decision.
So you haven't signed the lease yet? As a
I'm sorry?
professional. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. As a professional in this industry, what do you assess the need and demand to be for daycare services in the city of Gary, and in particular within the immediate area of this location?
The location popped out to me because where it is, it's on the corner it's in the residential area, but it's on a corner. It's also across the street from what guess what used to be a candy store. So when I saw this house, I just looked at it, and I'm like, I have a lot of parents. I do childcare. I'm a teacher at a daycare. A lot of my parents live in that area. They like, why don't you, that's what sparked me to come to Gary. I just want to bring, I know what they said in the other one, to do it in a business. I don't want to censor, because I want the kids to come and feel like they at home with me. I want to be their home away from home. And that corner, it's empty. It's a lot of abandoned. I just want to bring Big Mama. That's the name of my take care. That's going to be. I just want to bring Big Mama to this area, and hoping I can buy the building to open up a Big Mama candy store. I just want to be a Big Mama pillar in the neighborhood. You know, not only if you do a center, I worked in centers, that's going to take me away from being with the children. I want to be with the children. I want to change the diapers. I want to point to the alphabet. I don't want to be all paperwork. You understand? You see what I'm saying? And I've looked into, you know, doing a daycare, but it's too broad. I want to be, you know, I want to be with the baby. I really want to be with the children and bringing Big Mama back. I mean, a lot of us grew up with Big Mama. That's me. I've been called Big Mama since I was 16 years old because I'm a little old lady, and I just want to bring that to not only perfect house. It's a perfect house. Not only to bring the children that's in my day, but the kids that's I come around there, kids walking down the street. Get your butt off that car. Get your, you know, I want to be. Ooh, that's that lady house. You know what I'm saying? That's Big Mama. Don't do that. So I just want to bring that to the city of Gary. My mother was raised in Gary, and that's what's pulled me out there. And so I just really want to be a pillar. I want to be the 24 hours. I want to be there for Amazon. And I want to be there for these young parents, these young mothers and fathers that need a Big Mama in their life. So again, that's why, you know, Miss Mary, I wanted to, you know, be out there. And if it works for me, I will. That's a big house. I can live in that house. I will. You know, I just want to be that pillar that, you know, I want to offer myself.
Miss Muldrow.
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you plan to have in the house?
Well, the license criteria doesn't allow me to have more than 12 with a class 1 and 16 with a class 2 at one time. So it can be no more than 16 children. But right now, applying for right now, I will have to stay at 12 at one time for a whole year. So no more than 12 children. And they stated to me with that house that it has to be a gated in because there's no backyard. I got the gate people ready to go to fence that in, get the Big Mama corner. That was my vision, to have that home and then to possibly get the store across the street to do a candy store.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the area, so I know where you mean.
Okay.
So let me ask a question before Councilman Atkins comes. You said there's no backyard?
No, it's the front, that what you see right there. So license said that I have to have that gated in before they even come out.
Okay. Councilwoman Atkins?
So I do have to get people ready, you know.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Or an outside play area because they have to have an outside play area.
Okay. I'm familiar
So the
with
license
it.
did come out and measure and, you know, told me that, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Councilwoman Atkins?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have 2 questions. I'm not sure if this came up earlier before I got on, but my first question was if the petitioner could inform us if they had other daycares of ownership, and then also if you could.
Did someone comment? Continue.
Sorry about. I need to mute Councilman Brown. I'm sorry.
Please.
Okay.
And then my next question was the hours of operation.
No, I have not had a daycare of ownership, but I've worked at KinderCare. I've worked at New Horizon. I've assisted in in doing, I don't know if you guys are familiar with NACI and accreditation. I know all of that like the back of my hand. This will be my first round to be able to get out here and have my own instead of keep working for other people's. I plan on being 24 hours because I was looking at the Amazon and the casino that they just built. So I plan on being 24 hours because they do allow you to have a 24-hour license out in the area.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other council member?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman.
Thank you. And
Councilman
again,
Williams?
yes.
Okay. Councilman Williams.
Councilwoman Atkins, Councilwoman Atkins, I apologize for that. I did not know I was not muted. I just have one question. Young lady, have you attempted to start a daycare in Dalton?
Have I attempted?
Yes.
I did, but my landlord wouldn't allow.
So that's why you're over here in Gary doing it, besides the fact that you spend a lot of time over here in this area?
Yeah, well, because I couldn't find it. I'm unable to purchase right now. I'm not in a position to purchase. So yes, I've been reaching out, writing letters to landlord, and this is the first landlord that gave me the okay to trust me in her home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That it, Councilman?
Yes, that's it. That's all I want to know.
Any other council member? Okay, I will move this for third and final before the full body of the council. I will ask for you to be present, where the council will take a vote on this, to vote it up or vote it down. But ask you to be there, so just in case there's some additional questions that they may have of you, that you can be there to answer those questions. So
I
that's
sure will.
via Zoom at 6 p.m. on the 21st.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. You too.
We will move to our next ordinance, CPO 2021-66.
So the petition is at 425 East 47th Place. This is a petition for a use variance. The hardship, just skipping ahead, the hardship that we have demonstrated is that we have a currently operating daycare on the property. This is why it is a blue square and a red diamond on the same spot. A new owner is taking over the daycare that is existing. I do not believe she will be residing there, which is why it's a use variance. But the criteria that were presented to the Board of Zoning Appeals determined that the criteria for a use variance were met, because we have a currently operating daycare and we have had no complaints, remonstrations, or otherwise from neighbors, either by written or during the public comment period. So in that sense, those are some of the criteria that the BZA used to determine that the 5 criteria were met, and they are forwarding the petition with a favorable recommendation to the Common Council.
So you kind of answered quite a few things there. You said there has not been any complaints within the past year or anything since they kept operating. This is why they do qualify for the use variance. I'll open up for any of my colleagues at this time. Is the petition on? No, we asked for the petitioners to be here during a committee meeting. Ms. Hunter? Do we have a Ms. Hunter in a waiting room, anything? Okay. Hunter? Yes. Yeah, you can let her join. Okay. Hi, Ms. Hunter, how you doing? Trying to see if I can hear you. Oh, you can hear me? Because we can't hear you. Okay, you connecting audio. Now you're muted.
Okay.
Okay, so can you tell us about your daycare? I know you'll be the new owner of the daycare, and if there's anything different that you're planning on changing, or you've been the new owner of the daycare. That's my question.
No, everything is basically going to stay the same. I just want to switch her name to my name. She don't want, you know, her and her family is breaching off to something different. So I'm just going to take over the child care.
So when you speak about her name, I am aware of this daycare before, because I know it came before us. I believe a year ago. And you are the owner of the property, correct? I don't want to answer
Yes,
for
sir.
you.
Yes.
So she's the owner and she had someone else that was operating the daycare. Now Ms. Hunter will be actually running the daycare herself. So I just want to bring some council members up to speed where you at on this one. Well, if there's no questions, or are there any questions for Ms. Hunter, my council member?
No.
So Ms. Okay, so Ms. Hunter,
I have a
I will move.
question.
There's a
I have a
question.
question. I do. So are they switching, they're gonna use the same house, same children, same everything, just switch the names?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Everything is going to basically stay the same. It's just ownership. That's it.
Oh. Okay. I don't quite understand that, but okay.
So, Mr. Barrera, when you have an instance like this, do they have to go back through the license process again, with the city license and with the inspection of fire and things of that nature? With the
That's
name
exactly
change?
right.
It is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I will move this to go before the full council on the 21st at 6 p.m. And Ms. Hunter, I ask if you will be with us. So just in case when the full body comes together, if there's any questions at that time, they can ask those questions. You can possibly answer those questions for us.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So we move to our last one for tonight, CPO 2021-67.
The petitioner is Aisha Lawrence. The owner of the property is Constance Lawrence. And the affected real estate is 980 Hobart Street. The petitioner has actually delayed the requesting of a variance because she set plans to move into the property. And so is going to pursue a use variance for this to open a daycare at the property. So we're back to the use variance, 7 use variance criteria that are on the sheet. The property is zoned R2. It's in a section of the city that does not have any other daycares in the immediate vicinity. And I believe, let me just double check, that the only comments that we got were from Constance Lawrence, the property owner, in favor. So we received no letters in opposition, nor did anybody come on to the public comment period to oppose. So in the discussion with the petitioner, the BZA determined that the special use criteria were met, and thus are forwarding this petition to the common council with favorable recommendation.
Is there any questions from council members at this time? So,
I have a question,
okay,
Mr.
Councilman.
Chair. This is from Mr. Bria. Who are there new members on the BZA?
So the BZA consists of Reverend Jones, Chester Jones is the president, Commissioner Terrell Bond, vice president, Commissioner Kevin Brown, William Cook, Cliff Caldwell, and we have a substitute if necessary.
Gotcha, thank you.
And Greg Blackman is his name.
Thanks.
So let me ask the petitioner, Hi, how you doing this evening?
How you doing? I'm fine.
Okay, I want to know how many children will you be operating in your daycare? And what's your hours?
The requirements right now, well, we only can operate 12 at a time. So that'll be how many. You said the hours of operation will be from 6 to 6, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
I'm familiar with this area because it's in my district. It's way out past West Side High School.
Yes.
So I know where it is. So I'm not sure about any daycares out there, but I don't know.
There isn't any around here that that we know of.
In that area.
In this area, there's none.
Okay. Is there any other questions from council members? I do know a question we don't even ask too much, you know, what type of certification do you have as far as operating a daycare?
I am a paraprofessional for the state of Indiana. I've been one for 6 years. When the pandemic hit, being home, I was comfortable being home. I didn't want to go back. I don't know if I'm gonna shut back down. I don't even know if this is even gonna work. but I've been in education for 6 years. The requirements is the daycare open for 3 years, and then I have to go back and get some different type of certifications. I can't think off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me.
Levels?
But but they do allow you 3 years. So I'm not certified, but I have experience with kids. I worked in special education for 6 years.
Okay.
I'm a mother of 4. Been a mom for half my life now.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Well, I have no more questions, and if there's no more questions from my colleagues, I will take this before the full body of the council. I will ask if you will be there September the 21st at 6 p.m. via Zoom. And if there's any other question the councilman may have when we all come together, he's here to answer those at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll see you then.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
That was our last one for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining the Planning and Development Committee meeting for tonight. And that will conclude. We'll start again at 7 for finance. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. evening. This is the Finance Committee meeting for today, Tuesday, September the 13th. And there are two items on the agenda. CPO 2021-68, which is an ordinance appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the Gary Chicago International Airport tax-based funds for the city of Gary, and CPO 2021-69, which is an ordinance appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the Gary Public Transportation Corporation of the city of Gary. So we will start with 68, CPO 2021-68. I don't know who's doing that. Mr. Hayden, is it you?
Yes, Madam Chairperson. How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you, and good to see all the distinguished council members and guests and staff. Madam Chairperson, do you want me to proceed with a brief overview or get right to the finance?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I would like to introduce two new staff members. Airport manager is Mr. Charles Sweet II. He is on. He is the senior manager for airports, running day-to-day operations at the airport, and he's second to me. And also we have a new finance manager. She's going to give the financial overview. Her name is Dasha Chandler Thompson, and she's on. And I ask everyone just to welcome the two new staff members to the Gary Chicago International Airport team.
Hi. Okay.
Good evening.
I'll turn it over to you in a second, Dasha. Madam Chairperson, to you and the distinguished council members, first of all, I'd like to say that 2020, as we know, is a very challenging year with COVID. We had about a 9.8% drop in operations. Ours wasn't as significant as the major air carrier airports because we're corporate and general aviation, and now air cargo and freight with UPS being based here. And because of UPS and because of the COVID, cargo has been booming here at the airport all throughout the pandemic and even today. UPS with their 4 flights, since we signed that agreement, they average about 50,000 pounds of cargo and gross weight of 2 aircraft that operate out of here 4 days a week, a Boeing 757 and an Airbus A300. So it's really, really significant to see our switch to air cargo with 60 full and part-time jobs with UPS employees. And we just look for that air cargo piece to really be scalable within our next business development and part of our master plan. Corporate and general aviation has been steady. I'm in talks today. I can tell you, Madam Chairperson, that we could have several new corporate hangars groundbreaking in the near future. So we're happy with some ongoing discussions about more development there. We had a $3.5 million grant for taxiway alpha rehab. We're constantly, Madam Chairperson, improving the infrastructure, upgrading our nav aids and all the pavement on our runway and taxiways and our aircraft parking apron. So all of that old asphalt has to be grind down and refurbished to concrete to handle these larger aircraft that traverse in and out at our airport. The highlights for 2021 include Boeing renewing their lease agreement. And we're just happy to have another long-term tenant, especially a premier tenant like Boeing, continue to operate here. Our customs facility and customs and border protection facility, since it opened in October 2018, Madam Chairperson, we've had over 200 international flights from 26 different countries. Part of the highlight for 2020 was that instead of an on-call to service corporate aircraft within 72 hours, is down to 24 hours now. That's significant, and that should increase our volume. We average 6 to 8 international flights a month. So we're happy to have that operational switch to 24 hours advance notification. The staff was recognized in a prominent airport magazine, the June-July issue, by the American Association of Airport Executives, recognized for training excellence. We merged and stood up a third division, the Aircraft Fire Rescue, that used to be manned by Gary Fire Department. Now we have it in-house, and we cross-train staff to do operations and fire rescue. So we were recognized for a best practice in our training excellence. So we're happy with that. Plus, that's a significant cost savings and allow Gary to have the manpower with their firefighters back in the firehouses for the city. Continuing on, Fitch Rating rated our bond rating again as BBB stable. This is 2 years in a row. We're very happy to have that, and still we're off the watch list there. At some point in the future, we may elect to refinance our bond and have a very significant savings at a lower rate. So we're trending very well. COVID again, we had a disbursement under CARES Act, 2 disbursements, and a disbursement under the American Rescue Plan Act. The total federal funding and debt relief was over $800,000 for our airport. So we're very happy to have that. That number is standard for like airports of our size. DuPage, that does twice the operations that we have, they've had just about the same amount of federal funding. So we weren't slighted. It's just that the bigger air carrier airports receive more funding just to keep the concessionaires and airline employees working and not have that economic stress on the economy with the employees not working there. We are definitely moving forward with a robust workforce development and youth aviation career programs, STEM driven. We did see the rebound of the Chicago Air and Water Show this year, just with the Blue Angels that flew from here in August. And the big thing, Madam Chairperson, and I have to get, if everyone to look, I have to get the copy of this. This is a executive summary of our master plan. This is the big enchilada for us. And it's a 12-page easy read, but it really shows the engineering analysis of our facilities and the forecast the FAA did of our employments and operations. And it has that 5, 10, 20-year infrastructure development projects from new nav aids to the extending our crosswind runway to cargo initiatives, new T hangars, new facility, a new terminal and an international terminal when we reestablish air carrier service. So a lot of work went into that master plan. I'll get everyone a copy of this executive summary hopefully today, tomorrow or the next day, so you can look at that. But that really tells where we're at, and it does have exhibits in the back to show the projects, but also the cost estimates in 2020 funding. The near term, all the projects listed is about $199 million. and that's 1 to 5 years. And then the midterm is 6 to 10 years. That's about another $25 billion worth of infrastructure investment. And then long-term is 11 years plus, that's about 98 million. All these are critical infrastructure upgrades, forecasts. And as you know, Madam Chairperson, when you make these capital investments, that's when that private sector investment is sure to follow. We know that because of our runway expansion is why we are the premier mid-sized airport in the region right now. And lastly, for a quick update, there's 2 things. Our audit, we received an unmodified opinion. Once again, we're happy for that. A couple of administrative things, the training and awareness of just how airport operates and staff, and even the auditor who never, to my knowledge, did a airport before. We had to work through a lot of things, but we worked hard to once again get that unmodified opinion and complete that audit and filed with the State Board of Accounts. And the airport has been recognized in Crane, Chicago Business, and Northwest Indiana Times. So we're continually, and you'll see this in Ms. Thompson's presentation, that we're putting some days and dollars towards further marketing the airport so we can have those development initiatives. And I just can't wait to see you all again and give you a tour of the airport. So here's a standing invitation. I believe in October, we will finally get to where we can reschedule the UPS opening ceremony. November 2nd will mark 1 year of their operations here. We will have a AKA ribbon cutting ceremony, hopefully with UPS senior officials that will come out, celebrate their success in their first year of full operations. And we also will do a plaque dedication ceremony to mark the success of our customs facility. And we're going to have food vendors out here and presentations and just a good time and really hopefully show you all the Gary Airport and all the good things that we got moving forward. Before we go into finances, Madam Chairperson, are there any questions for me right now?
I don't have any right now. I'm just listening, and I'm excited. So I don't know if any of my colleagues have any questions. And please excuse me because I didn't tell you who was here. Our council president, Mr. William Godwin, Councilman at Large, Councilman at Large is here. Rob Brewer, our councilwoman of the 4th District, Ty Atkins, Councilwoman of the 5th District, Linda Barnes Caldwell, and Councilman of the Councilman at Large, Mr. Mike Brown. So I neglected to let you know that all those council members are here, and some of them may have some questions or concerns. So,
yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Madam Chair, and also Councilman Dwight Williams is also here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Councilman of the 6th District, Mr. Dwight.
And Madam, and also Cozy Witherspoon of the 2nd.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I didn't know he was here. Okay.
Yes.
Councilman.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman of the 2nd District, Mr. Cozy Witherspoon.
So, Madam Chair, thank you. And Mr. Hayden, you're doing a great job over there. I appreciate each time I come, you always have good news that's happening over there.
Yeah.
So let's keep that going. But as far as the master plan, I would like for you to come in, even, once you bring it to us, and we will allow you to make time where you can walk us through the master plan, exactly what's going to be taking place. I think it'll be good for all the council members to know exactly what's taking place with the upcoming improvements that will be going forward in upcoming years of the master plan.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
Councilman Brewer. I welcome that opportunity, and I think it will be educational for everyone. And to all the council members and guest present again, I salute you. Good evening, and it's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hayden.
Minority-owned auditor who's been working for a long time with the airport. Can you say more about the change and who was used to auditing?
C.R. Williams and Associates, we put a RFP out for bid. He was the lowest responsive bidder, and he was awarded the audit. With new team members and first-time auditor, the pain point was just getting acclimated to how airports finances and capital projects and AIP grant funding flow. We were in the trenches, with this switch with a new audit, and we worked hard and knew that that unmodified opinion was where we wanted to be. A couple of points of misunderstanding and how to educate the audit team along the way, but I think we got there, finally, and can move forward. I'll do a summary for the record to the state board about this, but we've checked that box, Council President, and we're just ready to move forward. And again, talk to Fitch, let them know that, we're stable financially, and hopefully, can refi our bonds sometime in the near future.
Thank you. And just to follow up, this other vendor, that's a Gary-based accounting firm?
Yes, sir. I believe he as I do recall, he is a local firm. That's correct.
Located in Gary?
I believe, sir. Yes, sir. I'll have to check my file, and I'll get right back to you on that one.
Okay, thank you. And do you know, can you educate me on the airport development zone, and particularly how the Hard Rock Casino is positioned within that, and the bond that I think is associated with that?
Sir, in the ADZ, we receive, once their development is on there and there's a tax levy towards that development, that funding goes back to pay down the debt on our the bond that was initiated for the airport expansion. The Hard Rock Casino, as I understand it, is on parcels that the airport owns. Additional parcels within the ADZ, we're transferring them per agreement with the railroads, part of the double tracking program that's ongoing. So there's a lot of environmental assessment, a lot of transfers back and forth. But the Hard Rock is on several parcels, tax levies that the airport owns at this time.
And is there any, I'm getting some feedback, is there any intention to, I think it's Councilwoman Brown, is there any intention to take the Hard Rock Casino out of the airport development zone? Do you forecast that being something that the board would attempt to do in the next 12 months?
Speaking of the governance of the board, I do not see that occurring in the next 12 months. No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Yes.
Is that it? Anyone else have any questions or comments? Mr. Hayden? Okay, well, we look forward to your providing us with the information you said that you had for us and you'll give to us. When did you say you will give us that?
Oh, I'm going to try to get these hard copies delivered to City Hall as early as tomorrow, Madam Chair, and it'll be at least a couple for each one of the council members.
Okay, thank you. we look forward to that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that, I'm ready to allow our Finance Manager, Dasha Chandler Thompson, to walk you through a quick overview of our finances.
Okay, we're ready. Okay,
Dasha.
Ms. Thompson,
Good evening.
good evening.
We were able to submit our 2022 budget. And what we made the decision to do was to present a conservative budget with just increases where it was operationally necessary. The overall increase in the budget was about 14%, and that was to cover several items. And I just wanted to highlight the items where we made changes from the current year budget.
Okay.
The first thing was we increased our repairs and maintenance by $100,000. That was basically because we have an aging fleet of mechanical or equipment that we use to keep the airport up and running. That covers our mowers and plows for the winter. And they are pretty old and they require lots of maintenance and repairs. And we find ourselves basically looking for funds to cover the repairs and maintenance of our actual equipment. We made increases in our, as opposed to the current year budget, the gas, diesel, propane, fuel, as well as the wildlife management, that is to cover oversight that's mandated by the FAA. To basically make sure we are controlling the wildlife population around the airport. There was an increase in our marketing budget by $25,000, as Colonel Hayden spoke to earlier, which is basically to add additional marketing tools for the airport. There's an increase as far as salaries and benefits for the additional 4 maintenance techs that we added in 2021. The other things that we had to add is because we in-house ARF, the Airport Rescue Firefighters, there were additional costs that needed to be added in for their uniforms and specialized fire equipment. So there was an increase of $9,000 there. And there was an increase of $17,000 for our janitorial contract and $6,000 for the telephone services. Outside of that, every other line item made changes.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions, comments? No? No comments, no questions? Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's it for the airport, unless someone else has something. If no one else has anything, then we'll move on to CPO 2021-69, which is Gary Public Transportation Corporation.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. This ordinance, CPO 2021-69, was amended today as of 9/13/2021. This ordinance is appropriating monies for the purpose of defraying the expenses of the Gary Public Transportation Corporation of the City of Gary, Indiana, for the fiscal year 2020. The amount of the budget for 2022 is $1,668,805. for the 2022 budget.
And
Mr.
Madam-
Freddie McMillan will speak on the remaining information.
Good evening to all of you, and thanks, Mr. Harper. Before I get started, Madam President, I'd like to commend Mr. Hayden. That was a very well representation of the airport, and I was very happy to hear that the airport is doing so well. So I commend you, Mr. Hayden.
Madam Chair, before
Yes.
we continue, I'm going to ask Mr. McMillan if he could turn his camera on so some that have never seen you can know who you are and hear voice behind the screen here. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, our budget is 11 million. I'm sorry, Mr. Harper, that's 11,827,796. We pretty much kept our budget the same. We presented a budget of 11,340,000 last year. We increased it by the growth quotient, which was 0.43%. And the really changes to our budget, we're going to be having a union negotiation this year, well, next year. So we increased wages in anticipation of our union negotiation. Our drivers are somewhat underpaid, and we're in a very steep competition with a lot of other bus companies in the area and a lot of other buses and CDL drivers. So we're trying to compete with them. That is one of the larger expenses we'll have next year. Fuel costs are going up, but we are pleased to announce that we're going to get 4 electric buses, and we're working on having that in. We've secured some of the funding from Volkswagen, and as you know, we get federal match money, so we have to match federal monies at 80 to 20%, and we're going to have 4 electric buses, and our rolling fleet, we're mandated to update that every so often, and next year will be one of those years we'll be updating our rolling fleet. So our fuel costs will be up this year. Hopefully after that, they'll start to decrease. Our commercial insurance, we went from being self-insured in a couple of areas, and now we are brokering our insurance out. So we're hoping that that'll lower costs in the future. And finally, which I'm excited to say, we're gonna make some capital improvements, and we put $1 million, close to $1 million, should I say, of matched money available for those capital improvements. Some of that will be at our facility on 35th Avenue, and then we're groundbreaking a brand new facility on 20th and Broadway, which we're excited about. We also are going to be updating bus shelters throughout our routes. And since we are a regional transportation corporation, we're doing really well, I believe, financially, and we're doing well also in our service delivery. I think the city of Gary should be proud of GPTC as well. And unless you have questions, Madam Chair, that's all that I have.
Mr. McMillan, I just have a question. You said that you were upgrading your building on 20th and Broadway?
So that will be a new construction. We've put out a RFP for architectural services and engineering services to see what we can do. That's a relief facility for our drivers.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it'll also be a place where our electric buses can get some juice.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan, good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
You talked about the bus fleet and about you all going to 4 new electric buses. What does your fleet look like that you run on a regular for just bus services?
Okay, I think we have 28, but my general manager is on, and I was going to introduce him, Mr. Clay Cates. Like to let him discuss our fleet because I'm new and he knows more about transportation than I do.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Cates.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and all distinguished people on the call or in the meeting, rather. Currently, GPTC operates 21 fixed route vehicles and 8 cutaway vans. And we use the vans primarily for ADA paratransit service. And the fixed route vehicles have a useful life of 12 years or 500,000 miles. We have 10 of them coming up for replacement now, and 4 will be replaced by electric vehicles. And part of the renovation at our maintenance facility is to install electric chargers to help us with that. While our diesel costs will go down, our NIPSCO bills will go up. So it's a green energy kind of trade-off thing. That's kind of where the president wants transportation to go. And in our new facility that we're building on 20th Avenue, we're going to have electric components there. As our fleet travels up and down Broadway and into the collar communities along Gary's border, if the electric vehicles need to be recharged, they can pull in and get a charge, and then another vehicle can go out on the road and take its place and keep service going. So our fixed route vehicles are between 35 and 40 feet. It's a mixture of the two. As far as our ADA vans are, they're cutaway Ford vans that hold, I think it's like 8 passengers and 3 wheelchair positions. And that's pretty much the complement of our fleet. I'll take any questions you may have if you'd like me to go into any more detail.
So what is your time frame to start the new construction on the 20th and Broadway?
Well, as Mr. McMillan mentioned, we have a request for qualifications out on the street now for A&E services. We want to bring that company on probably within the next 2 months and have them start putting together some blueprints and some mechanical drawings in order for us to determine exactly what the costs are going to be. We're still receiving some additional funds from the FTA, and we have some ARPA money that we haven't been able to actually get under signature. So we're hoping if everything goes according to plan, by next spring, we can put some shovels in the ground and actually start moving some land around and getting the facility actually start taking shape.
And my last question is about the shelters. I know a couple years ago, we did new shelters on Broadway, and some I have seen vandalized as far as accidents with cars. Some have some glasses broken. And then some you have put pretty much, I guess, like a mural type on them, where now the mural is kind of faded off, or there's room for advertisement where some advertisement is dated on there. Can you speak on the bus shelters in general?
Looks like he faded out or froze or something, or am I frozen?
I think you're going in and out. Is it just me or is it everyone else?
I'm not hearing anything. Sorry.
Yeah, he has a bad, I think you have a bad connection on your end.
Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Hello?
Yes, we're here. We're losing reception on your end. If anyone else can answer that question for me, I think we might have lost them this time. You're muted, Mr. Miller.
Our goal is to replace some of our bus shelters. We have, I believe, 4 on order, and they're going to go into some of the highly used areas. We do look at, our planning department gentleman looks at our bus shelters a lot, and our safety officer goes around and look at our stuff. So we're taking note. We're prioritizing our bus shelters as best as we can with the available funds that we have for those. But Mr. Cates, if you're back and you want to add some more to that.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what exactly happened. Not sure where I left off. I'll be glad to pick back up wherever that was.
Yeah, so I was having a discussion about the bus shelters, as far as repairs or replacement of bus shelters.
Okay, we just secured some additional money for bus shelters and put a contract in place to have them repaired as they sustain damage. For some reason, they are being hit more and more, and no one can explain why. I think it was 2 years ago, the Indiana Department of Transportation replaced just about every shelter on Broadway, and they seemed like they became magnets for people to run them over. It was really hard to understand. The shelters didn't really belong to us, so we weren't really in a position to readily replace them, but we've changed that. And once we receive the shipment of shelters we have on order, we're going to go about replacing all the ones that were damaged. I think there's one on 25th Avenue, one on 35th Avenue, and I think there's one on 11th Avenue. We've already identified. The board has given us the task to go out and actually do that. And for the reasons the economy is experiencing throughout its various functions, parts for the shelters are hard to get. Seems like everything in our economy is hard to come by these days. So we have the shelters actually on order. We have a contractor in place in order to install them once they actually arrive on our property. And that's one of the areas of concern. It has a high priority for us. So we're going to move on that as soon as the delivery is made.
So this is my last question. I want to make sure that we're connecting the dots with the city administration or the police department. When accidents are happening, the shelters are being damaged, I want to make sure that you all are in position where you all can collect the insurance premium at that time or go after the person's insurance. Are you all being contacted by the police department when accidents occur?
Well, I haven't seen any reports of the police sharing with us that they've actually apprehended anyone who ran over the shelters. The ones on Broadway that are the most prominent ones don't belong to us. They were installed by the Indiana Department of Transportation, but we are going to take the onus and replace them nonetheless. So
I guess my question is, well, we could be using money somewhere else, and we just can't allow people to come in and just continue to tear up stuff that we put up. You know, I think there should be some way where we're connecting these dots when vandalism happen, if they're apprehended or if the police come to the scene and there's a report, you all some kind of way should be in that circle where you're getting that report also, what your property was basically damaged. I understand you say you don't own it, but it seems like you all are taking ownership of it because you're now replacing it because your ridership is using it on a regular.
That's absolutely the case.
Yes.
We would certainly like to hold the people who hit the shelters responsible for it, but from what we hear, the damage is brought to our attention long after it has occurred. And there are no eyewitnesses or camera footage to identify who actually ran over the shelter. So we don't have any police information to pursue anyone's insurance company. We just absorb that loss and for the betterment of our ridership, replace them as the accidents occur.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair? Yes, I have a question for Mr. Cates. Mr. Cates, Cozy Witherspoon, how are you doing?
Just fine, sir. Good to see you today at the chamber meeting.
Yes, absolutely. It was fantastic seeing you. It's been a very long time, a very long time. Listen, a question I have is about ridership. What is your daily ridership look like in terms of, you know, totals? What is your annual ridership look like? And how did the COVID affect your ridership, if at all?
I wish I could quote accurate numbers for you, Councilman Witherspoon. I really don't want to put a number out there on daily or annual that isn't accurate. I can get those numbers and give it to you. As far as COVID was concerned, our ridership did plunge maybe like 80%, not as much as some other transit operators like the South Shore, because we had a lot of essential workers that still needed to move around in the area. And we were able to maintain a minimal amount of ridership, but that has improved drastically as the economy has opened up. We're about at maybe 80% of what we were before the pandemic hit. So we feel very good about that. And again, you know, the essential workers that were not furloughed during the height of the pandemic still rode our buses. We were critical to getting them back and forth and to and from. So we didn't sustain some of the losses that some of the other transit providers did. And we're thankful for that. But if you want some accurate numbers, I'd be glad to get those and send those to you.
Okay, I appreciate it. You know, what is the fare? What is the current fare?
I think it's $1.50 for local routes and $2 for regional routes.
Do you also have the transfer?
$2.25 for regional routes.
Do they still have the transfers as they used to?
Yes, we do. I think it's a quarter for a transfer.
And where are you servicing outside of the city? You're servicing Crown Point. Are you still servicing Purdue? And are there other places that you're servicing?
I don't think we have a route that goes to Purdue anymore, but we more or less serve just about all the communities in Lake County in one way or the other. We do go all the way to the Lake County Center. We go to the courthouse on the state line. In Illinois, we go to, of course, County Line Road. We have to stay within the boundaries of Lake County. And as far south as Crown Point, as far west as the county line, or the state line, rather. And we pass through Highland, Munster, and we do a lot of trafficking in Hammond, because Hammond no longer has a bus system. So we receive dollars from Hammond to help supplement our service that we provide there.
So what you're basically saying in Lake County is we're the only game in town.
Yes, we are. For fixed route service, we are, and for ADA paratransit. Now, there are some human service providers, which we call demand response, but that's not fixed route. We're the only fixed route provider in Lake County, Indiana.
Great. Okay. Thank you much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Cates. Couple questions. With your new, that's what you call them, shelters, are you considered doing digital billboards, digital signs that will have the time? So if it's going to be 10 minutes or 15 minutes before the bus arrives, is that something that maybe some of your busier terminals that could be possible, and what does something like that cost?
Well, we're exploring that. We're going to have to figure out how exactly to get the technology to work at those particular locations. We're looking at some automation to help us do that. We're kind of hesitant. We're worried about some vandalism if we put those amenities in there, but we're not going to let us, we're not going to stop exploring to see whether we can do that. What we've chosen to do in the interim is to provide that information through social media. Our passengers, our riders are well equipped with cell phone technology, and we have electronic bus pass sales to go along with the technology outreach that we're using through mobile phones and the social media platform in order to get that information to them, letting them know the time of arrival and departure and how long it might be for a bus to get there, service delays, service interruptions, things of that nature, So that's working well for us. But that is something that we're looking into. We just want to make sure that if we make that investment, that it doesn't fall victim to vandalism.
Understood. Is that an app you have for that, the ability to track when the bus is coming? So if I'm at, I think, Councilman Brown.
Yes.
I think I'm getting some feedback. If I'm at, you know, this past Labor Day, I was at Lake Street and Hemlock. The gentleman flagging me down, trying to figure out what the buses were running on Labor Day. So is there an app, or how does one access that? If I want to catch the bus and I'm wondering, is it coming in 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 minutes? How do I do that?
We do have a partnership with Google Maps to display what our times of arrival and departure are, and whether we're on time or running behind time. Anyone who has the address can go in to the website and check and see exactly where the bus is they're looking to catch at any given time and get an understanding when it might arrive. It's all, excuse me, satellite driven, so the times are pretty much accurate. All of that information is on our website for our regular riders, so they have no problem actually accessing it. I wouldn't call it an app, I would just call it something available through Google. That would be the best way to describe it. And I guess you can call Google an app.
All right.
But it's internet based. I guess that would be probably the best way to describe it.
Thank you. Do you
Madam
have
Chair.
a lease currently? I know that I was told that you are operating outside of a lease at the Adam Benjamin Center. Has there a lease been established or some kind of MOU between yourselves and the city? I was told that there had been some delay for quite some time in getting that done.
Yes, that's true. It's been a while since we've had a signed agreement, but we're operating under the terms of the agreement that expired. We have had some challenges in getting some consistent match revenue to help us with the operations of the building. The building is supposed to be able to support itself. It has concessions in it. I know Greyhound is still there as a snack shop on the first floor, but I think those might be the only two concessions at the moment. They don't seem to generate enough money in order to pay for everything that the building needs, and GBTC has been chipping in along the way in order to help support it, but that's not how it was supposed to be. We were more than willing to help support the building in the past with our grant money, but the city was supposed to pay the match on that. That would be 20% of whatever it was that was needed at the time. So right now we have an issue with the elevator. It's been out for almost 2 weeks. And we're still going to have to figure out exactly how the city is going to cover that cost when it actually gets repaired. The agreement that we had worked out, the property management agreement, spelled out the terms of exactly how that would work, who would cover the liability insurance and so forth and so on. It would be nice for us to actually put pen to paper and ink and get something that would be current, but we are still operating under the terms and condition of the agreement that expired, leaving us with challenges to try to have the city share with us the match money for any grant money that we might be able to make available to make repairs.
So where do we go from here, right? So how do we get you connected with the right, getting the feedback again. So how do we get you connected with the right person, whether it's the law department? I see we have attorneys Lockett and
go on.
I see we have attorneys Lockett and Jenkins here.
Well, we're going to work through our attorney, Attorney Kelly White Gibson, who is well known in ranks of the City Hall attorney staff over there, to see whether we can come up with something that's workable for us. It's my understanding that there are financial challenges that might prevent the city from regularly providing match when we may need it. But I heard the mayor mention that he has some ARPA grant funds that had come the city's way. And I don't know whether that might make it easier in order to do some things over at the Metro Center, because it is a city building. We're the property managers, and we, gladly and willfully manage the property. We just need that financial support whenever things of the magnitude like the elevator repair come along. So
Well,
that we
that's
can
correct.
make sure that the building is ADA accessible for the people who are coming to get on the South Shore train at a minimum.
Absolutely. Well, I know it's getting the feedback again. Over a year and a half ago is when I first heard about the lack of release, and that this has, I understand there's even some federal implications in terms of what you all can and cannot pay for in that building while operating without or outside of the boundaries of a lease. And so I think that the appropriate city officials and your attorney should very quickly come to terms and some agreement with that. We're going to be having discussions related to ARPA, and where the funds can be used, we should use them. Certainly the facility should be ADA accessible, it should be clean, it should be orderly, it should represent the city well. I think that this is a good time for you all to get back at the negotiating table before we pass a budget, or this particular budget, to ensure that these issues are taken care of.
And that
No
we would
use this
certainly
being a
appreciate,
three-year problem.
and we would certainly appreciate that. That's something that we've been working towards. And you may know that GBTC invested close to $800,000 in federal money in that facility about 3 years ago. So we've always maintained the posture that we want to be a willing partner with the city to make sure, the Metro Center is like the gateway to Gary, and it had fallen into some disrepair. So we put together some federal dollars to help bring it into a state of good repair. And as long as we're in there, we want to make sure that we maintain that partnership posture with the city to at least, keep the facility in a state of functionality.
Well, thank you. And I certainly hope that before we consider this on third and final, that there's at least a draft of a new lease. Maybe this is a good time to get back to the drawing board. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Did I freeze up again?
There we go.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, anybody else have any more questions or comments from anybody from GPTC?
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just wanted to say on transportation, I think there's an app called Move It, MOOVIT, where you can, I've used it because I found out about it when we were having issues about transporting children for a Gary Public School. And it can track, beside the Google, some of the locations that the Gary Public Transit goes. They're doing a great job. In fact, I have a county employee coworker I work with. He catches the bus first thing in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. He's on his way from where he lives at to get to Crown Point. So that bus service is invaluable. And I couldn't agree more about the Adam Benjamin Center, or another way to have people comfortable to travel through our city, because there's also Greyhound and Trailways Terminal. So people are coming from all over the country. So we really want to have it look better than what it is. So, but I just wanted to pass that on. There's an app that I've used called Moovit, Moovit. You can get in the App Store and you can track the Gary Public bus movement. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
And if I may mention, Madam Chair, that app is actually something that we use. We primarily use it to help sell passes. I wasn't aware that it had a tracking component to it. That's news to me. I'm glad to hear that. But it was my understanding that it was, for us, a pass selling apparatus. And that's why I didn't mention it in conjunction with the question that I was asked. So I'm glad to hear that.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I am very concerned about, the elevators not working inside the Metro Center there. And I would hope within the next day or so that the administration can get with the bus company and we can get that fixed. I know there's going to be a lot of extra movement going on with the downtown, with the double track that's going to be taking place, because eventually they're going to be busing people because you won't be able to stop, I believe, at the Lake Street stop. So there's going to be some busing back and forth. So I believe it's going to be a lot of traffic coming to that center probably within the next months or so, whenever they get to the double track portion of it. So I'd like to make sure that we can get that taken care of. I would hate to see someone that really needs to use the elevator and we have no way of getting them up to the top or getting them down because the elevators are not working. There's no more escalators inside of that center. Ones that have not been in a while, there's stairs. The escalator has been taken out and now there's stairs. So it makes it very difficult for a person that has a handicap that needs an elevator to be lifted up or down, and they're not able to use those, and they do have flights of stairs now inside. So someone from the administration is on that can speak to that tonight, but if not, hopefully you all can get together very soon and get that taken care of. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, if I may comment on that, just for clarification purposes, that's absolutely true. We do need the elevator working for ADA compliance and anticipated ridership, but the reason why it isn't fixed right now is because of a part that cannot be readily gotten by the company that is under contract to fix it. It's not any issue between GBTC and the city. It's just this part's on order and it hasn't arrived yet. It's our plan to get the part installed immediately upon receipt. So just to qualify.
And there's only one elevator there?
Yes.
Just that one elevator. Well, it's an elevator down by the entrance to the South Shore train, because there used to be an escalator down there, but NICD took it out. It just was hard to keep in a state of good repair. They took it out and put stairs in. But there's an elevator down there, and they had the same problem with it last year. It was out of order for maybe 2 months because of a part. And they had to bus people to Clark Road in order to put them on the train because they couldn't get upstairs at the Metro Center. So it's not our first issue with elevators at the Metro Center.
And that's my thing. You would think that they would never took that out as a backup, even though I know they had a lot of problems with it. Put a new one in, but NICD does have the funds to do just that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Have any questions or comments for GPTC? If there are no more questions or comments, then that concludes the Finance Committee meeting for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.